Hey everyone, what's going on? It's If You Have to Pick Three. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
I get a top three list. Zach gets a top three list. This one's kind of hard to put into a overall top three list, but we're going to try. This is one of our annual episodes. Record Store Day. It feels like Christmas in April. It's coming around again.
It's a great time for artists to help support their indie record stores by doing exclusive vinyl releases of sometimes old albums that are out of print, sometimes new releases, whether it's a release of a live album that they never had come out before, or just some cool new variant of a classic album or a reprint of something from the old days. There's usually something for everyone at these events. And like we've done in past years, we're each going to pick the three coolest releases of this year's Record Store Day. I really hate to start off as a bummer, though, because I'm not going to lie, Matt, and I kind of felt this way last year, too. But I kind of was struggling. Like, I ended up finding some cool releases that I think are worth getting. But I struggled finding releases that made me go, all right, I am going to get in line at 6 a.m. and wait 2 hours to pick this copy up.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same here too.
I want to support the local stores. And I also fully admit that, frankly, maybe it's because I admittedly haven't really participated in Record Store Day in a while because now I have twin toddlers. I'm very more selective in my buying now, and also even just from the time I spend away from them.
I was just going to say, I don't like, you're not alone. And I said this before, you're not alone in the way that you feel this year, or even in like past years. I feel like it's kind of gone downhill a little bit. And it's like, like the hype has kind of died off a bit. Granted, there are still some things that are cool to go pick up, but maybe you feel different because of the list and what your tastes in music are. But I think that Record Store Day, like some huge name has to step in again, like Dave Grohl or Metallica or I don't know, just some other, like Bruce Springsteen, just throwing it out there, like
as
some other big
or something, or as just
as the ambassador, like, because that's going to gain more popularity, and I think it's also going to step the game up a little bit again.
I don't even know if that's enough. I think it comes down to there needs to be some cool titles, and the truth of the matter is you got big artists involved. I mean, even the Rolling Stones have a release this year, or a re-release with Record Store Day. I think it's just a mixture.
I'll talk about that a little on my list, actually.
Oh, sorry to skip ahead here. But I think it's just even like, and I think maybe you and I mean, of course, we have a few other record stores near us that are great, but you and I always went to Vintage Vinyl because we knew they were going to have a much wider selection of releases. And anyone who's also like us in the New Jersey area knows that Vintage Vinyl has closed. So maybe that's also part of it, in that, like, well, as much as I love some of these other record stores, I know that even before I get in the store, they might not even have that album, that they might not even have that release, or they ran out. And it just doesn't seem worth the wait if I can't guarantee that. So maybe that also selfishly is another part in that. Just, I hate saying this out loud because this makes me sound like a douche, but the thrill of going to a record store is just not the same it used to be. Maybe COVID kind of got me in the mood of kind of accepting not to go to stores anymore. I hate saying that out loud because I love music. I love vinyl, but.
Well, now that we've successfully taken you down, let's build you back up. You're going to rise from the ashes.
Yeah. Sorry to depress everyone. And, again, I love the idea of Record Store Day. I think it's important to support the indie stores. And there definitely are some cool stuff that, listen, it's cool. And it's definitely one of those, the second I see someone having it, I'm going to get really jealous. I'll put it to you like that. It's like, all right, now I say I'm not going to get in line and wait hours to pick this up. But the second I see a friend or someone post online their copy of it, I'm going to be like, oh, I want to go rob that person of that record right now. Like, I'm going to get jealous, admittedly. So with that in mind, Matt, would you like to share your list first?
No, you're going to rob me.
Get ready. Hope you have a good security system, Matt. Daddy needs some free vinyl.
All right, let's start off with, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, that one of the things with like the Rolling Stones or like any of the older artists that are on the list, like one of the things that it kind of boggles my mind a little bit is that they put out or they put out their albums again, maybe with live tracks or something else on them. For me, I would just want the originals. Like I would just go looking for the originals that were issued back in the 70s or the 60s and add those to my collection because those seem more interesting to me. So for this record store day, what I've done is I've put together a couple of first time on vinyl pressings because in the mid to late 90s, the vinyl was pretty much, for all intents and purposes, dead. You know, it was just, the record shops had, used records. They weren't getting in very many new albums, and the albums that they weren't getting weren't of the new things because CDs were coming up and cassettes were a big thing. Still, maybe they were on their way out too, depending on when we're talking about. But the first one I have on my list is the Verve Pipe and their album Villains. So this is the band's second album, and it was their first major release, but it came out in that window of the late 90s, the mid to late 90s, and it contains one of my all-time favorite songs that I can't really even put my finger as to why, but if you've ever heard the song The Freshman, it's like a perfect song to me, and I don't know why, but every time I hear it, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel a certain way, takes me back to a certain time, and I feel like this would be something amazing to hear on vinyl. And the rest of the album is really good too. Like I'm not knocking the band. Like they have some other really good material that's out there. But just for me, this one, I think I would be happy to add to my record collection. So we're going to say the Verve Pipes album Villains. The second album that I would love to hear being crushed out of my record player would be a little band by the name of Shadows Fall and their album The War Within. And this is the first time that their best-selling album is being put out on vinyl, and it's a limited edition reissue. So first time, limited edition on blue and gray swirl. We just keep adding to the things here that make it sound more and more interesting. Not to mention that it is a great album, and it's really one of the albums that introduced me to them. And yeah, to hear this one crushed on vinyl would be amazing.
We could do a whole episode dedicated to just analyzing the career and life of Shadows Fall, because that album made so many people, consider Shadows Fall to be potentially the next big metal band.
Yeah.
And during a time when it was them, Killswitch Engage, and Lamb of God, the direction that Killswitch and Lamb of God's popularity went compared to Shadows Fall, you could do a whole case analysis of like what happened. How did Shadows Fall not end up taking the ground and taking the lead and become the next big band? And maybe we will touch on that in another episode. But yeah, that's just a great album. And it's kind of sucks that I think so many. Granted, Shadows Fall is starting to do some one-off reunion shows lately, but I do think that album does not get enough people, or does not allow, not enough fans remember how great that album was.
Oh, it's so good. I loved it. Like I remember this one didn't leave my CD player. Yeah, I said it. My CD player when it came out. And then finally, for my third pick, one of the things, like I said, I mentioned earlier, is that for bands that are older that are reissuing their stuff, it's going to take something very, very special for me to want to purchase something new over something old. And I think what's going to do it for me this year would be the Doors limited edition mini turntable plus the mini LPs that go along with it. So what it's going to be is it is a limited edition record store day mini turntable sporting the Doors branded dust cover and turntable facing. Each of these special editions of the vinyl player comes in a special box complete with a set of 3-inch records that are being released for Record Store Day in 2023. Now, they contain the LPs that are in there are Love Her Madly, Hello, I Love You, and Break On Through. But what's really weird to me is, and I don't know if you can actually do this, but you can buy each of the 3-inch EPs separately from the record player, or you could buy the whole thing together. So could you play these 3-inch vinyls on a regular record player?
No, probably not.
I know, but it's just weird. Then, like, would you happen to have purchased a previous Record Store Day mini turntable if you didn't buy the Doors 3-inch mini turntable to play the said 3-inch?
Maybe that could work.
I don't know.
They've done this a few times now with the mini record players, so maybe it would still work. But I also feel like the people who are buying that are not necessarily going in to be like, oh, I can't wait to hear these songs live. I think it's literally, I'm a Doors aficionado, and I'm just going to have these on a shelf to display.
Probably. But also,
for better or worse.
So in addition to these 3 LPs, what's special, or these mini 3-inch EPs, so they do, like I mentioned, they feature the hits Break On Through, Love Her Madly, and Hello, I Love You, but they're going to be in the Japanese designed flip jackets that include the 3-inch record and a lyric sheet. So there you have it for me. That is my list of 3. So you have the Verve Pipes Villains, Shadows Fall, The War Within, and the Doors limited edition Record Store Day mini turntable, which includes the 3 mini EPs of Love Her Madly, Hello, I Love You, and Break On Through.
So then let me start off my list with one that I already started to kind of tease in the beginning of this episode. I think it's hard to, I think even if you're not a huge Rolling Stones fan, I think it's kind of, a common ground. Everyone agrees that Beggar's Banquet is one of their just defining albums. It really captured the band's love of Delta blues, and it just really kind of helped solidify the Stones as, a big band. A critical darling band too. And granted, of course, you probably already have this album on vinyl if you're really a huge Stones fan, or even just a casual classic rock fan. But what makes this special, in addition to this featuring the original album artwork that is, controversial in that it was of a dirty kind of bathroom, and the label didn't want that. They replaced it with just a plain white cover with the text on it. Of course, there's been plenty of reissues that reinstated that original cover artwork. But what makes this more interesting and cool is that it's actually pressed on gray, blue, black, and white swirl vinyl. That's actually an ode to the lyric, a swirling mass of gray, blue, black, and white from the song Salt of the Earth, which was, as performed in the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. Now, I'm already a sucker for unique color variant vinyl. And as, someone who likes that, and this is such a classic album, that's definitely kind of makes it a little cool and worth picking up in my mind. So first pick is the Rolling Stones Beggar's Banquet Record Store Day exclusive with the color swirl. The second pick, I'm going to go with, now granted, I'm not entirely sure how involved Kiss is with this, but a little backdrop for those who maybe, because I'm sure there's plenty of Kiss fans, either you know the extensive history of how there were so many different members after the 70s in Kiss, or you only think of the original 4. But Eric Carr, who replaced Peter Criss in 79 or 80, I forget the exact year, he actually really did play an enormous role in the band, being able to continue on in the 80s up until his death. He died from heart cancer, unfortunately. It's funny, when it came to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when Kiss got inducted, they've been very vocal how unhappy they were that they only inducted the 4 original members. When they were like, yeah, but like Eric Carr, are you kidding me? How, he's been in the band longer than Ace and Peter combined together, or even like Eric Singer. I mean, it's already ridiculous that they didn't induct all of those, but Eric Carr, out of all of them, you can make an argument that he should have gotten more due. And what's cool is for Record Store Day, so if you recall, Kiss, when they did they had those solo albums where like each cover had the band member's face, and it was essentially their solo albums that they got the lead charge and as a way to kind of keep the band together while still giving them a chance to like do whatever they wanted to. And of course, it was mixed results as both critically acclaimed in regards to critics, but also in how they sold. But for Record Store Day, they're doing a Rockology collection. Essentially, the cover is just as if like, what if Eric Carr had his own solo album? And Eric's sister Loretta is involved in creating this, and it's essentially like it's a lot of songs that he led. It's also going to be on Orange, Clear, and Black Swirl, and it's just one of those for a Kiss fan, especially one who knows the band's history and knows what Eric Carr brought to Kiss, especially during the time when they went paintless. But even his time as the quote unquote Fox, that was his makeup. This is an item that you're going to want to have in your collection, and we know that when it comes to Kiss, you can fill up your basement with a ton of Kiss products. So, the second pick is the Eric Carr Rockology vinyl. And the third one, this one's going to show the current state of my life. I talked a lot about having kids now, and I talked a lot about being a dad.
Don't do it.
So,
don't do it.
Matt, are you familiar with a show called Bluey?
I've heard you mention it. Isn't it like a cartoon blue dog?
So it's a cartoon show from Australia, and it's about a dog family. But it is literally the best written show currently on TV. And I kid you not. It perfectly captures what it's like to have kids and what it's like to be a parent. The characters are hysterical. The dad dog, Bandit, is my spirit animal. It is such an incredible show. And actually, if you look online, there's articles about how it's actually a show that parents love more than kids. And I can attest to that in that we've tried to make our kids watch it. And they used to kind of, tolerate it. Now they're like, no, give me Baby Shark instead. And it kills us because it's literally the best written show. It hits all the right notes and humor and heartfelt stuff. It's literally, if you're looking for an 8-minute episode, so if you're a parent that's looking for a fun show, I could not recommend Bluey even more. It is a phenomenal show. Why the hell am I talking about it on a music podcast? Well, part of the charm of the show also is that it's actually got some really fun music. In fact, the first soundtrack that they released was a huge hit. Award-winning, it debuted at #1 in many charts. And for Record Store Day exclusively, they're releasing a second soundtrack called Dance Mode. And it's got new recordings and songs from seasons 2 and 3. And what's also kind of cool is it's a picture disc, and it's actually being released as a Zoetrope vinyl. So when you put it on the turntable, the characters actually start dancing around as the vinyl moves around. It's one of those, definitely there's a target audience for this, and that audience's named Zach Shaw. So this is actually probably one of the items that I might actually get in line for because it is just that cool. I don't know what that says about Record Store Day as a whole or what that says about Bluey itself. Can't recommend Bluey more to you, whether you're a parent or not. And my third pick will be the Bluey Dance Mode picture disc. So to recap, Bluey Dance Mode picture disc. Rolling Stones, Beggar's Banquet, color variant. And the Eric Carr Rockology color vinyl. So, with that in mind, Matt, I'd like to propose a world-famous Zach compromise. I say the Doors mini LP set, the Eric Carr Rockology, because I think anything Kiss, especially when you have something that's that, Kiss has so much collectible items that if you can get something like that, I mean, when you can find something that cool and unique, I think Kiss, that's pretty awesome. And it's also only limited to 500 copies. So it's going to be a hard, unless if Kiss has less fans than I thought they do now, that's going to be a hard fought item.
Yeah, I think that'll be pretty cool.
And then the third item, I'll actually let you choose from the remaining ones, and I'll see if I agree with it.
So let's see. We've got Bluey, Shadows Fall. We got the Verve Pipe and Beggar's Banquet. It's not the Rolling Stones.
You don't think it's just because it's that populated of an album or redone of an album?
Just go get the original recording. Yeah, I
Okay.
if the only special thing is that it's on a special pressed vinyl, no.
All right.
Um,
I think nothing
you
against the
know
Verve
what?
type, but that's just another. I mean, it's not a color variant, is it?
Uh, does it say color variant? I'll tell you in a second, actually. Cyan vinyl. So it's going on the cover of the album.
Yeah, I think we need to eliminate that.
Okay.
So it's between Bluey
Bluey
versus Shadows Fall.
Fall.
That's the headline right there. Bluey versus Shadows Fall. So the only argument I would make for Bluey over Shadows Fall, which is, I can't believe I'm even saying this out loud.
I know what you're going to say.
15-year-old me would be like, what the heck are you talking about, Zach? Is the only thing, I mean, yes, it's the first time that Shadows Fall has been on vinyl, but it's other than the color variant, just listen to the CD. Whereas at least with the Bluey dance mode vinyl picture disc, there is that, more interactive part, like the visual element to it that gives it
With
just.
the, I knew you were going to say
I mean,
that.
that's the only argument, but I also recognize that I am a parent with certain needs, and those needs are just Bluey playing 24/7. So I
And
also recognize I'm a little more biased in regards to that. And trust me, I've seen Shadows Fall live so many times. I love them. I've interviewed them for Metal Insider when I was an assistant editor. Great guys, great band, and it speaks. I think it speaks more volumes as to why I'm so defended of Bluey. But I also understand if I'm the only one who thinks that.
I'm also going to fight for Shadows Fall for one other main reason. Is according to YouTube, they say that our target audience is males 18 to 44. Well, so
hold on now. Actually, that could be a great argument for Bluey. How does it say how many of them have kids?
No.
There you go. There you go. I can live with Shadows Fall though. Honestly, I'm just happy that I got to talk about Bluey on the podcast. So I will take that as a victory itself.
You know what? I'll let you have Bluey.
What? Bluey. And if you watch the show, you know that was the intro. Anyway, really? What made you are you just sad for me? Is this a pity give?
No, because I know that this can go in more parent-friendly places on on TikTok.
First off, hold on. We are revealing way too much of the sausage in this episode of how the sausage gets made right now. Let's not go down that route.
All I'll say is you can get color splatter vinyl for a lot of things. How many can you get a dancing dog on?
That's kind of my thinking.
That's like Jack White levels of vinyl production
for a kid's show.
For a kid's show.
That's the only reason why I would actually fight. And I'm not even fighting that hard because my wife is going to both laugh and kill me when she finds out how much I revealed about my love for Bluey. Because she's like, no, this is getting too much, Zach. So a little behind the scenes look for everyone too. My coffee mug that I drink out of while I work and record podcasts is a mug that my wife got me for Father's Day that has the characters from Bluey with our names underneath each of the characters. That's how obsessed I've become. And I will post a picture of this on our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Epic Footnote. When you hear this episode, you will see this photo too. I promise. And my wife will be more embarrassed of that, actually. That's how much I've drinking the Kool-Aid of this Bluey show. But here
just means you need more Shadows Fall in your life.
Apparently, this is a sign that Shadows Fall needs to do an actual reunion tour. This is me kind of having a midlife crisis right now, guys, because 13 years ago, I was at Mayhem Fest, backstage interviewing Jason, the drummer of Shadows Fall, because I had helped, do social media posts to encourage Mayhem Fest to book Shadows Fall because they're great, and I love that. I love them. And now, 13 years after that, here I am talking about how great of a show Bluey is.
Again, Shadows Fall.
I mean, just like to give you guys an idea of how much my life has changed within 10 years, let alone 13. I've gone from interviewing Shadows Fall to talk about, no, but the beauty of Bluey is the characters. Like, my God, what has happened to me, Matt?
You became a parent. And that is very apparent. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, do you agree with us?
So go ahead, recap, Matt, where we landed in the final three, because I'm not entirely sure we really have agreed.
So the final three that we've come up with for our favorite releases for Record Store Day of 2023 are, in case you didn't know, Bluey, the Doors mini record player with the 3-inch EPs, and the Eric Carr new Kiss album with him dressed up as a fox on the cover, just like the rest of the guys.
And a special honorary mention for Shadows Fall, The War Within, because it is cool that that album's on vinyl now. Actually, it's kind of hard to believe it hasn't been on vinyl until now. Now that you mention it,
it's just the time frame of when it came out. It was that early 2000s, late 90s that nobody did vinyl.
Can I give one more little fun shout out, honorary mention?
As long as it's not to Bluey, because I think we kind of driven that blue dog into the ground.
No, this is another childhood kind of related thing though. But Matt, do you remember? And I want to make sure I get the timing right on this. Yes, in 2003. Whoa, 20 years ago. Do you remember when Macho Man Randy Savage released a rap album?
Yes. Be a man, Hogan.
Yes. Yeah. Literally, he did a whole diss track on Hulk Hogan, and it is as hysterical as you'd expect it to be. Well, someone decided to celebrate its 20th anniversary. Let's release Be a Man by Macho Man Randy Savage on purple vinyl. That is the most ridiculous yet amazing thing in the world. So I think that deserves a little shout out here. Another little fun fact about it, it also has a tribute to Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, who had passed away earlier that year. Wow, I can't believe it's been 20 years since he passed away too. Wow. So yeah, if you're a wrestling fan, you know you're going to want to pick that one up too. Just throwing that out there. It's amazing for all the wrong reasons.
Isn't there also something on there as a tribute to his character Bonesaw from Spider-Man?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Macho Man fans, this is the one to buy. Well, are you fed up with us talking about Bluey and the sad state of vinyl for way too long? Do you agree with our picks? What albums are you going to be picking up, or special releases are you going to be picking up at Record Store Day? What stores are you going to go to? Let us know on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at Epic Footnote, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear a lot more episodes like this. I promise they're much more music focused than how this episode turned out. And thank you to Lucky 13 Beard Co., who hopefully is still... Actually, you know what? I'm going to bet you that Ed knows Bluey. I bet you he knows. He's a parent as well.
Oh, yeah. He's a two-time parent now, so he absolutely knows Bluey.
He knows he knows the miracle of Bluey.
To find out more about Ed and his amazing company, Lucky 13, head on over to the website, lucky13beardco.com. All of your beard balms and oils there, one place. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to smell epic. And the most epic that you can smell is with our Lemmy from Motorhead inspired beard oil. Everything that Lemmy was about: bourbon, tobacco, cola, leather, all in one bottle. It is the best smelling beard oil.
That's a bold statement, Matt.
Hey, go hard or go home, baby. But it's the best smelling beard oil that I've ever smelled. And we're going to give you 10% off of anything that you put in your cart. Use the code EFP10 at checkout. Head on over, Lucky13, beardco.com. Use the code EFP10 at checkout.
If you still have some money left over from all those vinyl that you buy on Record Store Day, maybe throw it our way. Maybe help us support the podcast a little bit more by buying a t-shirt, a coffee mug, a hat, a hoodie from Epic Footnote. Show your love for our little tiny podcast. Go to our Linktree page, linktr.ee/Epic Footnote, where you can find out how you can buy Epic Footnote merch and support this podcast. So thanks so much for listening and for putting up with our mishigosh in this episode. And we hope you join us for another episode real soon.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
Oh, yeah. Dig it.